Welcome to the GC Bizcast, a collaboration of J. Whitney Bunting College of Business and Technology and the Department of Communication at Georgia College and State University. Here we discuss important topics with today's business leaders and educators. We produce weekly podcasts from our beautiful campus in Milledgeville, Georgia. We're excited that you've joined us. Our conversations should inform you and entertain you. The views expressed are the views of the individuals on the program and do not represent the views of Georgia College and State University. So, let's get started.
To the Business Podcast. I'm your host, Sruti Sajja, and today I'm here with a very special guest, Professor Creel. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Professor Creel. I'm an assistant professor of business law here at Georgia College State University, as well as the director for the Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship.
Perfect. So you have quite a unique educational background. Would you like to tell us about how you kind of came to GCSU, what that looked like?
Yeah. I mean, it is a different sort of background, if nothing else, just because of the sheer length of it all. I did not intend for this to happen when I started, particularly in college. I ended up getting 6 degrees. So I started out with a BBA in economics, and I wanted to be a banker. I knew that at the time. I was all about being a banker. And so I talked to a bunch of my friends' parents who are in the industry, and I was about to go to actually get an MBA with the econ and finance background. But they all convinced me, don't go that direction. Go get a JD. If you go get the JD first, they'll actually, whatever bank you go to work for is going to pay for you to get an MBA. They're going to bankroll it. You go right now, you're going to be the one paying for that MBA. And then whenever you've got that MBA and you've got that JD together, in 10, 15 years down the line, they're like, you're going to be at top of the line to be a VP someday at a bank or even higher. And looking back on it, I can see the advice was sound, but ultimately the timing was not. When I say the advice is sound, like we can look at the head of the Federal Reserve, lawyer. He's got a JD. We look at the head of the World Bank, lawyer, like IMF. These big financial institutions really have been dominated by lawyers, which isn't that surprising when you consider how legalistic the banking system really is and how important regulations are and regulatory law they're from. So I mean, I think their advice was dead on. Problem was, I graduated law school in 2008. So at the height of the financial crisis, I actually was lined up to go work at Lehman Brothers, which is an institution a lot of people probably, in your age group haven't heard of for a reason. It doesn't exist anymore. In 2008, it went under, and that was kind of the seminal event which signaled this is big. This was one of the biggest financial institutions that existed, which suddenly didn't exist. It went completely bankrupt, and that kicked off the Great Recession. And so in the immediate aftermath, right, everybody's job offers in the financial system are getting pulled. I found out that really, in applying to these jobs, the best job I was being offered was usually a teller. They were like, here, get your foot in the door as a teller. Which with the law degree just wasn't going to work. I was not prepared to do that and just tread water for a couple of years, hoping, the storm would pass and I could make my way in that way. So instead, I did what people often do in recessions. I went and found some time in academia. And part of that was because I had that time to kind of sit back and think about, well, what do I actually want to do with my life? Now that the banking option was taking off and taken off the table. And I kind of realized at that point, I chose banker for no other reason particularly than it sounded like something rich people did. And that sounded cool, right? I mean, like, money, that's, I want to get money. Let's go work with money. I'll have money. I love money. That's not really a passion. That's just, like a specific end goal. And it's not money itself. It's the thing money can buy you that you're after. So I started thinking, okay, well, what is my actual passion? What do I like? And one thing I kind of started thinking back to was how in college, I graduated college in December. And so I didn't start law school until May. And so I had that kind of time off, and I did some traveling for a few months, but also while on campus, I was actually going with friends to class who were poli-sci majors. And I only had one political science class the entire time I was at college. I took the one that was required, and that was it. And I loved it, did quite well in it. But, it just didn't fit in my major. There was no room for it. And I got the exact amount of hours needed to graduate and not one more. And so when I was going to their classes just because I genuinely enjoyed it. And I was helping them study for their tests and helping them, get prepped up for it. And in that, moment, thinking about it, I was like, wow, at the time I didn't realize that's weird. it's not normal for students to be like, hey, let me go to a class that I have absolutely no reason to go to. I already had my degree. I was literally just going because I liked it. So I was like, you know what? I want to go study that a little more. And so I got enrolled in a dual program, which was an MA in International Relations and a LLM, so a Master's of Laws in International and Comparative Law. So I figured I would be getting that LLM, that boning up in that direction, as well as then getting some more background in a subset of political science. And in so doing that, I made some really good connections, found some good mentors, and one of which was an assistant professor, which means you're on the tenure track. She had worked for the Department of State for about 20 years. She was now an assistant professor at the university I was at, and she went up for tenure, and she got denied. She was a top-rate professor, one of the favorite professors I've ever had, and undoubtedly qualified. Like I said, 20 years in the Department of State. So I mean, this is a woman who was negotiating high-level trade treaties at times. She was really well qualified, but was still denied ultimately because she didn't have a PhD. That was the university's reasoning. Was they said you don't have what we consider a terminal degree, so we're not going to grant you tenure. So she was fired. She was let go. Knowing I was at that point, like, okay, I want to go into academia, seeing I didn't have the PhD, I kind of realized at that point, all right, well, once more into the breach. So I jumped into a PhD program, got an MA as I was completing it in political science, then the PhD in political science. And from there, that's where I started first teaching. I moved back to San Antonio, Texas, while I was finishing up the dissertation. So after I got the courses done at Texas Tech, and I started doing some adjuncting and then got a full-time gig as a lecturer at Texas A&M San Antonio. And then once I completed the PhD, said, hey, I had PhDs in hand. When I took the job, you said we could convert you to a tenure track position. So I'm ready. Let's do it. And the college said, we're not prepared to do that. We don't have the ability to do it at the moment. So I went on market, found Georgia College and State University. And at the interview, everything just went really well. I felt like this was the kind of university I really would do well at. Small, liberal arts, real teaching focused, which, my PhD program was a real research focused place. It's from what we call an R1. So a real research intensive university. So this is the exact opposite of that, where instead of having classes that are 550 students, like you don't even have a class that's 50 students in most cases. And so I really took a shine to that. I really liked it. And when they extended the offer, just didn't even hesitate, jumped at it, came this way. But the odd caveat to that is my first job here was actually in arts and sciences. So I came over and I was actually teaching constitutional law and intro to law over there in the College of Arts and Sciences. And in the process there, I got to know Jahan El-Drabagi over here at the College of Business. And we were starting to prep up some ideas about some cross-college collaboration since I was the new pre-law guy over there. We were talking about like getting a certificate program that you could get courses from both programs, business and arts and sciences. And long story short, it didn't work out, but a position opened up over in the College of Business. And she told me, hey, we got this job opening. If you know anybody who wants to apply, let them know. And when I looked at it, I thought, you know what? I do know somebody who wants to apply. Me. So I ended up applying, got the offer, and then just moved over about 40 yards from arts and sciences to the College of Business. And I've been here since. And the biggest development as of late was this past summer. I wrote and submitted a proposal for the development of a Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit, and that got accepted. So now I've added that to my official duties list, where teaching and some significant administrative work.
That is so cool. Something that you said that was so special was you were talking about how, your whole life you were kind of like, I'm going to be a banker. Yeah. And I think that like a lot of students do that. Like I do, well, not about banking, but just about like, this is a job that's going to financially set me up well. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's any like, that's completely, valid. Like that's how we like
gotta pay the bills.
We need to like pay our bills. But I think that it's really sweet how like you ended up like still studying something that you were passionate about. I think that there is there's room for you to do both. Like I don't think it has to be either or. And as an undergraduate student, that's something that I'm me and like a lot of my friends are trying to be like, well, how do I have a job that I'm going to enjoy for my whole life and not a job that's just going to like financially satisfy me? So I think that that's really cool that you like studied it just because you were passionate about it. I think that's great. But yes, about the Center of Innovation, we are, what is it, 8th? We are 8th in the country for innovation.
Yeah, so I don't know how the rankings come out, but US News put us 8th for innovation. And I do think it is in no small part because of our willingness to do things like this, to start innovation centers like this.
Absolutely. What is like your vision for the center?
Yeah. So in putting together kind of this proposal that ultimately got the green light through the dean and then the provost and the president, my view of what we could start doing is kind of multifaceted. So a big part of it is really just starting to make sure that one hand is talking to another within the university. So this is something I really didn't appreciate until I moved from one college to another within the same university. Like, we really don't have a lot in the way of collaboration between one college and another. Very often members of the faculty would have zero interaction with one another. And that's really common across a lot of universities. It's not as bad here because we're small enough to where you do generally have some contact. But even then, like just actual official working capacity, it really isn't there. And so one of the things I wanted to start seeing us do was, say, look, we may be the College of Business, but that doesn't mean people in arts and sciences or education or health. Like, business is basically a description for commercial transactions under a system of capitalism, right? And everybody's doing that. And so there's no reason that we shouldn't be engaging everybody with their own individual areas of expertise and trying to help show them, like, here's a way that you can utilize what you're passionate about, what you like doing, in a way that's a good, solid commercial enterprise. Because, you may not be getting those classes that focus on the very narrow details of it. We can still find ways to help deliver at least a bare bones, quick level of education on those factors to help get you up to speed, or even connect you to people who can help do the stuff you don't want to do. Like, if you hate the accounting side of it, then fine. We've got accountants. We can do that. We've got a big, solid accounting program. So a lot of it is just, the first step is starting to coordinate. That's a big part of this job, coordination. Another big factor is we're wanting to start to do something in terms of like actual hands-on experience with students. So in a way, it's kind of like a formalized, internally run internship procedure. So one of the things we're doing is we're working with some businesses now to offer consulting fees. So we're kind of turning the Center of Innovation into an actual like consulting firm. And what we'll do is we're negotiating with companies to say, all right, you pay us a monthly fee. We'll have some faculty who are at least, nominally in charge, who'll be running and doing most of the work. But they will then be the ones who grab, a student team of interns to help work under them, whether it be for credit, whether it be for money itself. We'll each project will be designed individually to fit the needs of the client. But that's a way that we can start engaging directly with business and connecting those business to students all in-house. Because a reality too of it is, Milledgeville's not really particularly close to a lot. The middle Georgia, middle of nowhere is something I often hear students say. And so this is a good way to say, well, we can all be under the same roof. And as we've seen in the last couple of years, a lot of this stuff can be done through Zoom, telecommuting. And so we can do that a lot here in-house. And the biggest benefit of that to firms is very often you go to an outside consulting firm. Well, they might just be really great at marketing, or they might be really good at accounting or legal or, whatever it is. We've got experts in everything. That's what a university essentially is a hub of experts in every single field, which gets us back to that coordinating position of the center, to where, part of my job is finding out the needs of the business and then connecting them with those faculty and bringing them into the loop of the organization to help start, giving them what it is they need. And then a third thing that we do, the other big pillar of it all, is going to be helping actually start businesses. So we want students to actually come to us and start businesses up. And so part of what got me interested in this originally, when the idea of Center of Innovation was first even broached, I kind of, remembered I've had 3 or 4 students come to me with the ideas saying like, one wanted to start an Uber-like type app, but for students only, students as drivers, students as passengers. So that way, no outsiders could be in. I've had some who've other app ideas about like exploring abandoned buildings. about starting different NFT and cryptocurrency centric businesses. And so in doing that, I had a really good time with doing that. And I thought, you know what, we should have a formalized operation because it takes a lot of time to help those students develop those ideas. And so if we have this center, we have this kind of formalized mechanism whereby I can help them. And again, I can bring those resources of the university in a very formal and more effective way to help them have a higher chance of succeeding. So one of the things we're doing as a jump off to that is I hope starting this spring, we'll be offering a competition where it'll be a sort of business pitch competition. We haven't named it yet. One of the ideas is GCVC, Georgia College Venture Capital Challenge, the GCVC Challenge. And so the idea there is, you come to us Shark Tank style, tell us your idea. But unlike Shark Tank, we're not there to take a bite out of your business. We're there to just give you the money and then bring you into an incubator for the next year with the money that we've now given you and say, all right, we've given you some office space. We're giving you access to all these experts. You'll have me on tap full time to, help you out in any way you need. Let's start this business. And a big part of what we really, really hope we can do is start businesses that are local, that are going to be, centric here in the Milledgeville or at least middle Georgia area. Because back to that idea that there's not a lot here. This area needs economic development. This can be sort of an engine of that economic growth to where we can have that direct impact. And then hopefully over time, if we start more of these businesses, success just snowballs. And you might see some revitalization in these areas, as we've seen with other centers of innovation across the country. You can start to turn an area into a place where students are like, you know what? I'm not going to go back to Fulton County this weekend because there's stuff to do here.
Yeah.
And so, the long-term goal is to kind of move us in that kind of a direction.
That's so cool. Absolutely. I think that having a student buy into Milledgeville a little bit is key to its success, because I don't know, I think that it's really easy to just kind of I go to school here, but there's a whole city outside of our campus. So that's really great. I love that.
Yeah. We got to break that Millie bubble and get people into the community at large.
It's a big bubble. Yeah. We have a big bubble.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. I think it's cool that we're incorporating campus, community, the students, faculty. It's all kind of, I don't know, integrated into the center. And that's, I don't know, like you said, we're getting both hands moving. It's great.
Yeah. And so, it's not just the student thing, it's the businesses themselves. So if a small business, can come to us in that consulting angle where we can help grow them, we can be that, again, on campus economic engine to help grow what they're doing outside of the campus, but still in the Milledgeville area. And some cool examples I've seen of this at other centers of innovation might be there was a local cheese manufacturer in one area, but he didn't know how long his cheese would last when packaged and shipped. Well, we have people who run these kinds of studies who can say, we know packaging studies, that's a whole field. So we can marry the logistics folks we have in business. We can marry some of the biology people who know how to run controlled lab experiments. And we can give you an answer. We can tell you, here's how long it's going to stay good for human consumption. And that gives you a better idea of how far you can ship, shipping methods, costs. So it's little things like that we can start to do to help them out, because, your average Joe may not really have any experience with them.
No, I think that as an undergraduate student, it's kind of, unless you're doing internships, but it's kind of hard to get that real world. Mm-hmm. This is what a business is like. This is what a business needs. And so I think that it's really important to get students out there and have experience, so that when they leave, they're not just I don't know what to do. What do I do now? Where do I go? How do I get a job? And it's a great networking opportunity. There's so many connections that could be built there. It's super great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because a big part of it is working with faculty who are working with business and you as well. And you just never know where a connection is going to come from any of that. So getting involved will help you.
Will the center be open just throughout the semesters, or is there?
Yeah, so we actually have some space set up to where we're going to have our center of operations, but it's not in the College of Business. It's actually over in Kilpatrick Hall. We've got a little end of the wing that faces the parking lot. We've got a few rooms set up, and it's right next to what's known as the maker's space. If you've ever seen that over there, where they've got a bunch of like 3D printers, CNC router machines, all kinds of stuff, neat equipment. Or if you're wanting to like produce prototypes or make t-shirts for advertising, whatever it is. So we're going to add one. It's going to be like a boardroom style setup over there. So like when we do those competitions, there'll be a good space to go ahead and locate. Or if you're wanting to do formal presentations, it'll be there. And we'll have one room that's dedicated to mostly just like a classroom style, to where one of the ideas too that we're hoping to do to make this a year-long thing is maybe offering some GC1Y, GC2Y style courses over there that are more business centric, that, you know, if you're looking to start a company, an entrepreneurial centric thing. So one idea we've seen from other universities that I think we're going to copy, always copy success when you find it, is these instances where you give students like, here's $300, go start a company. And it might be like, let's fix bikes or something. It might be something real small, but it gets them that real practice of having to, you know, take money that you're giving them. So the school has the budget for that, but they can go and actually, you know, get their hands dirty and figuring it all out and how to make something work. And sometimes seeing why things fail and learning from that failure, knowing that, you know, you're not putting the skin in the game. The money itself, you know, is low stakes, but it's nevertheless a way to kind of get that good experience. And so when we've got that space set up, we do want it to be a year-long thing though.
Is there some kind of like, I don't know, program that students are going to have to go through to be eligible, or is it just?
Well, for like the GC1Y, it would just be, you know, students who decide to take that. We'll probably, you know, start small, 20, 25 students or something like that, to where we can manage them in small teams and also to keep costs down while we're experimenting with these sorts of things. And, you know, we're a small school or small campus. Starting 30 new businesses might be a little too ambitious, but maybe 5 or 6. That's within a realm of something I think is doable on there. So yeah, I mean, that's at least the idea for now.
Okay, that's really exciting. You heard it here first. Is there anything else that you want to touch?
I'm not sure. I mean, I guess, let's see. How long have we taken so far? About 20 minutes long?
24.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, if he's trying to get it to like 20 to 30 minutes. The only other real thing, I guess, that would even be remotely interesting is I write a lot, but that's about it.
Yes, I have seen a lot of your work. Your like the publications.
Yeah.
Are those all like within the past?
Yeah, most of them are in the past about year. So if you go and if you look at the list of like the solo authored publications and newspapers and magazines and the like, I think 2 or 3, I think were from like the 2018, 2019 time. So like right after I'd finished my PhD, I was like, breath of fresh air, takes time to do something different. And then once I got set up here, COVID, had a baby. So some time kind of went to where I didn't do anything. And then about a year ago, again, I had put 4 peer-reviewed publications out, and I was waiting on hearing back on those. And I just was like, you know what? I still want to write. I still want to engage in ways that aren't as rigorous as the peer review process, that are more societal impact focused. And so in thinking about that, I was like, the op-ed is a good way to go about doing that, where you can take your expertise, put it to the current thing that's being discussed and throw it out there. So I started, writing first for the regional papers. So, Savannah Morning News, the Augusta Chronicle, I started writing for them. And then I threw my hat in the ring at Newsweek, and boom, got printed there. And so now I've had about 8 or 9. I have another 1 or 2 in the pipeline with them. So I've become a regular over there at Newsweek. The Hill is one where I just got published recently. And so, I mean, it's I think true to my very jack of all trades background. It's on all sorts of topics. A lot of them are politics centric, but a lot of them are even, inflation centric. That's been a common theme that I've been talking about quite frequently, particularly as politics meets inflation. But also some of like the fine details of how the law operates, like with Elon Musk buying Twitter and free speech implications on social media. So I try to put them in ways that are easily digestible. These are 650, 750 words. So like 3 pages if you double spaced it. They're not big papers or anything. They're something I usually write in about an hour. But, at the end of the day, I think it does speak to trying to get that societal impact, to not just be effective in the classroom, but as an institution to try to put our mark on the community at large or the nation at large.
Do you think that it like kind of keeps you, I don't know, reminded of like what you're passionate about and what you like to write about and all of that kind of stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Because, you know, at the end of the day, an op-ed isn't just using your expertise. It's bringing your opinions into it. So you've got to have a strong opinion for a good op-ed. You've got to make a strong argument. And so passion is a great way to do that. If you've got that strong opinion, bring it to bear and make a solid case for it. And that's, you know, what I figured is one of the reasons I think I've been successful moving it to the national stage, is because I've got that extremely varied background of all sorts of topics that I can go ahead and show. You know, I've got a pretty solid grasp on a lot of these different topics that are often relevant.
Is there anything that you would tell undergraduate business students that are listening to this, just about all of it, about like just undergrad and major in and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, one of my biggest pieces of advice is don't be too dead set on your plans. Because that's something like I said, I kind of just, every moment I was in, I made the move that was best for the moment. And as much as I had plans that may have been projected forward, by all means, plan ahead. But at the same time, you've got to be nimble because you don't know what the world's going to bring tomorrow. You know, we might get another super plague. We might have another economic, you know, devastating news. Aliens might show up at this point. We don't know. We do not know what tomorrow is going to bring. So if you're nimble and you're committed to being able to say, I've got that plan, but at any moment I'm going to let go of it, you're going to have an easier time adapting. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things that's helped me over the long term was really just being okay with rolling with the punches, knowing that, you know, a lot of things are not in your control. Like in the moment, especially, I always felt like a failure when I was being told after law school, you could go be a teller, something I could have gotten with like a high school degree. You know, that was extremely disheartening to know, like, I just spent how many years and oh my God. And that's the best that I could get. But it's not always going to be in your control. You've got to realize a lot of the world is not going to be in your control, and you're going to just have to work it to the best of your ability, knowing that, you know, sometimes it's just out of your hands.
That's good advice. I think that I needed to hear that. I have a tendency to hold on to my plans.
Man.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It was such a pleasure to talk to you. And I hope you have a great day.
All right, excellent. Thank you for having me. Talk to you soon.